Hello, good afternoon, and welcome. We have a topic today that I wanted to focus on, especially because how little people sometimes tend to realize this. But the decisions that we make, they have consequences. The decisions that we make in our everyday life, they have consequences. There is a cause or a type of cause and effect, an action and a reaction thing type of thing that goes on throughout life. Every decision has consequences. Now, the type of consequences that we receive are always based on what is done. So we sow what we reap, if you will. Now, Paul, in Galatians chapter 6, he reminds the brethren there in Galatia, as well as he's reminding us through the word, that if we put our mind on spiritual things, we will reap spiritual benefits. Galatians chapter 6. Galatians chapter 6, and we're going to start in verse 7, where he says, "Be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. Or he that soweth," or it says, "but he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap everlasting life." Then he says, "Let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. As we have therefore opportunity, let us do good to all men, especially to them who are of the household of faith." Paul gives us a good reminder here that when we sow something or when we do something, we're going to reap what we sow. We're going to get the effects of what we have done. And in this case, let's think of it in this case. If we're going to sow discord or cause a disruption in the church, then we're going to cause disharmony. If we're going to strive to bring the church together, then that's what we're going to get. If we steal from a bank, or if we commit murder, or if we break the law, that's what we have sown. What we're going to reap is jail time. Now, if we put our minds towards the things that God wants us to learn and grow, we will have a much greater treasure waiting for us at the end of this life. Every decision that we make has a consequence. Now, not all of these decisions that we make are going to have a consequence that's going to happen at that exact moment. Each one is different. But as verse 9 tells us, he says, "Let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not." In this case, he's talking about the fruit of his labor, or the fruit of our labor, if you will. Not to be weary in well-doing. Don't get discouraged if it doesn't happen when you think it should happen. We may never see the fruits of our labor come to fruition. It's not in our time, it's in God's time. It's not in our season, but it's in God's season. It may not have it may not happen in the time that we see that we're even a part of this. It may happen down the road. And then in verse 10 he says, "As we therefore have opportunity, let us do good to all men, especially to them who are of the household of faith." It may not happen in our time. However, we should still be striving to do good. And he says, "As we have therefore opportunity, let us do good." We don't have the opportunity to teach everyone in the world. We're not going to be able to teach everyone in the world. However, those who we have the opportunity to teach, those who we have the opportunity to be a part of their life and to teach them the gospel and spread the word, those who we have the opportunity to affect their lives, we should strive to do so. That door has been opened for us. The doors that have been opened for us, that's the ones that we need to strive to be a part of and to do what we can. Our decisions, they have consequences. So what about us today? We sow and we reap the consequences of our actions today as well. Think of it as in this sense. If we try to break up the church, we will break up the church. Maybe if we teach false doctrine, that will lead others astray. That will lead people astray. We reap what we sow. When we teach the truth, people will learn the truth, hold to the truth, and be saved. It's a cause and effect type of deal. Sometimes we may not see the fruit of our labors. We may try to teach someone for years before they ever come to understand the truth and do what they need to do. But it's not in our time. It's in God's time. Now, will you make the decision the same, or the decisions that you need to make to bring you closer to God, or will you make the decisions that will drive you away from God? We all have to ask ourselves that same question. Will we make decisions that will lead us and others to salvation, or will we make the decisions that move us in the wrong direction? The choice is up to each individual. Which decision are we going to make? I hope that we make the right one, the one that leads us closer to God. Thank you so much for joining us. If I did not mention before, I am the minister at the Burns Flat Church of Christ. We would love to see you here on Sunday or Wednesday. Wednesday night starting at 7, and Sunday morning starting at 9:45. Thank you so much, and may God bless you.